Born in Seattle in 1942 as Johnny Allen Hendrix, Jimi's name was changed at the age of 3 by his father Al Hendrix to James Marshall Hendrix. Al was tired of Jimi breaking broom bristles while pretending to be a guitarist instead of sweeping the floor in his room. He bought his son his first acoustic guitar in the summer of 1958. At 19, after less than a year of Army paratrooper training, Jimi would spend the next 3 years traveling the States, playing backup for artists and bands such as Little Richard, the Isley Brothers, Ike and Tina Turner, and Sam Cooke. Jimi made his way to New York City, where after not even a year, the former bassist for the band The Animals, Chas Chandler, took notice of Jimi's outlandish style and incredible skill. Chandler brought Jimi out to London to start a new band. Immediately in London, Jimi met bassist Noel Redding and drummer Mitch Mitchell. Chandler managed this newly formed band known as the Jimi Hendrix Experience. After only 3 months, in December of 1966, they released Hey Joe in London, which soon hit number 4 on the British charts. The next single, Purple Haze, reached number 3. The Experience's first album, Are You Experienced?, was a huge success in London, which meant it was time to bring the act to the United States.
The first time I saw Jimi Hendrix, Hendrix just came over to the microphone and said, "We tune because we care." And then he just started playing Purple Haze, and it was like as if someone had dropped a match into, a pile of gasoline-soaked rags. I mean, it was an explosive set. I mean, Hendrix was such an amazing performer.
In June of 1967, The Experience played the Monterey Pop Festival. Brian Jones of the Rolling Stones introduced Jimi as the most exciting performer I've ever heard. Little did the crowd know that Jimi would also be the most exciting performer they had ever seen.
His moment of arrival back in the States, though, was the Monterey Festival. That was the performance that everybody came away talking about. He came out and, gave a characteristically insanely incredible performance and set his guitar on fire and did his full theatrics and walked out, and just that was it. I mean, he went from 0 to being the biggest American rock star out there, and that's the moment that just put him on the map, and there was no ignoring him after that.
At the end of 1967, The Experience released their second album, Axis Bold as Love, but it was their third album, Electric Ladyland, that would be their first chart-topping #1 album, with their version of Bob Dylan's All Along the Watchtower. At the beginning of the summer in 1969, The Experience broke up. Only 2 months later, Jimi performed at Woodstock Music and Arts Festival. He played almost all day on August 18, 1969, starting at 7:30 in the morning. Jimi's version of the Star Spangled Banner was one of the classic moments of the entire festival.
1969 was probably the absolute height of the Vietnam War. And Hendrix playing the national anthem, essentially putting Vietnam through his guitar, it was an amazing gesture that recast what America could mean.
To get up at Woodstock and play the Star Spangled Banner at daybreak and deliver that interpretation of it was just such a powerful statement that, continues to ring out in rock and roll.
On New Year's Eve 69-70, Jimi debuted his entirely new band, the Band of Gypsies, at the Fillmore East in Manhattan. The Band of Gypsies started the new year with a bang. The Fillmore's owner, Bill Graham, said the show was the most brilliant, emotional display of virtuosic guitar playing he had ever heard. In August of 1970, Jimi built the Electric Lady Studios in New York so that the Band of Gypsies could record their new double album, First Rays of the New Rising Sun. Electric Lady was the first ever studio privately owned and not owned by a record company. On September 18, 1970 in London, Jimi Hendrix died of asphyxiation in his sleep from a drug overdose. He was only 27.
In the case of Jimi Hendrix, that idea of what we missed because he died so young, I think is very real. This is somebody who was an explorer and, at the age of 27, had done so much already.
Hundreds of posthumous recordings have been released since Jimi's death, but in 1997, First Rays of the New Rising Sun was finally released.
Still, to this day, people can't touch the things that he was doing at a time when the technology was much less sophisticated than it is now. He was able to draw sounds and create an approach to making music with an electric instrument that absolutely changed rock and roll 180 degrees.